Be patient, focus, respect the woods. Welcome to Darkwood. Found in Poland, the Darkwood is a particularly dense forest which rapidly grew out of control, most likely because of supernatural forces. It's a very harsh and unforgiving place. In this episode, we will be talking mostly about the creatures from Darkwood, starting off with those inhabiting the dry meadow. The primary threat in the dry meadow consists of people who have been driven completely insane by the oppressive nature of the woods. These savages can be found roaming around during the day. Some are not aggressive, but it's unclear why. Through some research, I've determined that there are two stages of savagery. Stage 1 savages, also known as stone throwers, are just very pale humans. Most of the time, they're covered in muddy, tattered clothes. Savages do not always attack you. Sometimes they run away, but when they do, they use rocks as their primary method of defense. They will get into range and toss them at you, dealing minimal damage. Though, even minimal damage in Darkwood can quickly become fatal. Stage 2 savages have strayed a lot further from their human form, becoming bigger and starting to grow branches and twigs out of their heads. There are two easily distinguishable types of Stage 2 savages: swipers and stick savages. Swipers primarily attack with their claws, and they're rather nimble, lunging at you and chasing you down. Stick savages have learnt the use of tools, and they carry a large branch, as the name implies, which they use either to attack or to draw mysterious circles and markings on the ground. The savages can often be found gathering around these markings or other landmarks in the overworld, sometimes bashing their heads against trees or other solid objects. The second most common threat in this area are stray dogs, often found in old camps or roaming around paths and landmarks in the overworld. They do not pose much of a threat unless they're in groups. These threats can for the most part be avoided during the day, but during the night they will come, and you must learn to defend yourself if you intend to survive. You will also find that taking a more active approach during the nights, patrolling your hideout, and being actively defensive will help you maintain your resources and will somewhat prevent you from getting caught off guard. But this is Darkwood after all, you never know for sure. There is another type of creature which you will find during the night in the dry meadow. Its arrival is signified by a flock of crows flying by during the dead of night. When you see this, you know the Banshee is coming. The Banshee is a humanoid creature with the upper body of a crow. It can overwhelm you very quickly, using its absolutely blood-curdling scream against you. But in reality, the Banshee is a lot easier to deal with than you may initially believe. When it sees you, it will screech loudly, calling in its young. About 6 of its babies will quickly crawl toward you, biting at your ankles. But you need to remember they are extremely weak, and a single hit with almost any weapon will take them out. As the Darkwood itself, if you intend to survive, you must not fear the Banshee. I've noticed that when the Banshee dies, all that remains is a pile of ash, and I am unsure why this happens. If any of you have a possible explanation, please leave it in the comments. Moving on to the Silent Forest. Here the environment is quite similar to the Dry Meadow, but you will find quite a bit of corpses that will explode if you touch them. You can identify these by the lack of crows around them. If you do see crows around them, it is safe to loot. When going deeper into the Silent Forest, you will most likely encounter the Chompers for the first time. Chompers, very much like savages, are deeply pale, but their upper body is split in half and has converted itself into a massive set of jaws. You'll soon realise that the Chompers will be your primary threat. These are particularly hard to fight, and especially hard to outrun. The best way to have a fighting chance against the Chompers is to listen carefully for their very iconic screech, which will indicate that they have seen you. When hearing this, if you react fast enough, you can get yourself into position to defend yourself from the Chomper. They are formidable opponents, and there is no surefire way to take them down, but the best approach you can take is cornering. Quickly approach a tree or any solid object which you can circle around, and use this to take advantage of their slow turning. The exact origin of the Chompers is unclear, but I believe they're closely related to some of the makeshift medicine the villagers of Darkwood apply. Finally, moving to Chapter 2 of Darkwood, you will find 3 new creatures here in the swamp. Starting off with the human spider. This horrific creature is a combination of multiple previously human bodies. It will flail itself wildly towards you, and if you move out of range, it will toss its own limbs as a weapon. But beware, these limbs will quickly grow back their body, very much like a starfish. You must do away with these separate limbs as quickly as possible, or else you'll find yourself getting overwhelmed very fast. When in the deeper areas of the marsh, you've got to look out for bubbles or movement in the water. These are both clear signs of a swamper, a crocodile-like creature. It will lurk around you until it decides to engage, starting off by spitting at you and binding you to the ground, then running in for multiple melee swipes. The key to fighting the swampers, very much like the Chompers, is to know that you're in danger before it's too late, preparing yourself to avoid the initial binding strike. And finally, the single-handedly most dangerous creature in Darkwood, and debatably the most terrifying, the centipede. It consists of the remains of a body where a large centipede has crawled into and taken over, therefore the name. The body's head will be replaced with the centipede's head, and one of the arms with the lower half of the centipede, its hand consisting of its pincer-like tail. This creature, luckily, is extremely uncommon, and you will most likely only encounter it a handful of times during your playthrough. But be warned, when you do Do not hesitate for a second to use your firearms, otherwise it will be certain death. Especially since this is one of the most intelligent creatures in Darkwood, and he will use his ability to burrow himself to quickly move behind you out of your line of sight. The floor of your shelter will not prevent him from burrowing in or out, so there is no way you can barricade yourself from him. Having discussed the creatures of Darkwood, I'd like to take a brief moment to stray away from these and talk a little bit about the environmentalist message you can find prevalent in Darkwood. Through exploration, you will find that a lot of these horrific creatures are more so tied to the humans that have inhabited the place, and not so much the woods themselves. When exploring the marsh, you'll find remains of rituals, most likely performed by humans, where they attempted to combine creatures of the woods with other people. And I believe this is where the swampers, the banshees, the centipedes, and all of the other creatures originated from. Upon closer inspection, you'll begin to realise that many people that inhabit the Darkwood actually do not have too much of a problem with living in this spooky forest. It's the creatures that can be found here that really make it a problem. For my following point, I'll be delving into major spoiler territory, so skip ahead 60 seconds if you intend to play the game. At the very end of your playthrough, you achieve what you so desperately wanted the whole time: to escape the Darkwood. But to do so, you must either kill a massive nest of baby banshees, or burn a tree made out of many people. And you realise that the city that you live in is somehow far worse than the unimaginable horrors of the Darkwood. You want to return, but you can't anymore. I'll make a small pause so those who intend to play the game can catch up. Now usually, I don't tend to enjoy video games that carry heavy-handed environmental messages, but I think Darkwood pulls it off particularly well and weaves it into the narrative. Overall, I believe Darkwood is a mind-blowing experience that you really have to play for yourself, so please, if you're watching this, give it a go. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And hopefully, this episode of Ahuntersfieldsnotes will help to guide you along your way. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for following videos, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. As a side note, I wanted to thank you guys for all your support, and I wanted to mention that I decided to invest a little bit in the channel and buy a microphone for better audio quality. Have a good day.